Today, Jordan and I are going to be talking about some hidden gems of Marvel Legends, some figures that we think deserve a lot more credit than they're given, maybe some that are often overlooked, but shouldn't be. Let's talk about it. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Strong Collectors Podcast. I am your host, Dakota, here with my co-host, Jordan, and today we are doing the Marvel Legends Hidden Gems. So Jordan and I have compiled a list of 5 figures that we think are often overlooked. You know what happens when I make lists. There's got to be some runner-ups because I can never narrow it down to whatever I've put my constraints to be. So I'm going to have a couple runner-ups. Jordan's going to have a runner-up. And we'll get into some of these hidden gems. I think some of them may be a little more obvious than others, at least for us, because we've talked about kind of our top 10s and favorites from years and things like that. But this is going to be anything. This can be a Build-A-Figure, Toy Biz, Hasbro, whatever. So as long as it's within Marvel Legends, it counts. I'll go with my first runner-up, which I wasn't sure if this really counted as a hidden gem because it's kind of a gem, but it's also kind of hidden because it's a little bit more rare. You don't see it very often. And I thought that the Human Torch from the box set, The House of M, is pretty cool. I think if Hasbro, they never would, but I would love to have an update because it is kind of that older tech. The wings are a little loose, but it's Toy Biz. It's old. That's what's going to happen. But it's kind of a Ghost Rider looking Human Torch with the skull head, and then you got kind of the demon wings. So it's kind of more rare, so I don't know if it counted as like a hidden gem because I think people know that it's kind of cool, but I don't know.
Maybe just don't hear about it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the tough thing with some of the Toy Biz ones is definitely a lot of the sculpts I think are really cool.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard, though, especially if you have mainly Hasbro, which, I get, of course. You got, I think, the superior articulation and all those things. Right. But sometimes I think you can make them work when you can weave them into the display. So I get that.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
What is your runner-up?
It's almost hard for me to narrow it down to a runner-up. I will say, I think my runner-up is going to be I'm going to go with the Toy Biz as well. Okay. And I'm going to pick the Toy Biz Beast. I really like the Toy Biz Beast. I know way back when on our first top 10 episode, he was in there. I definitely see the limitations of the figure, but I think, especially for the time, that one is... I would argue you could still work him into a display with your other stuff nowadays.
Yeah, especially if he's like a background character for sure, I think. Right. Maybe front and center might be a little bit more challenging, but... Yeah.
I just think that one really... I remember even as a kid really liking it, but I've looked at it recently, just the way they sculpted all the fur and it's just a well-done beast. I liked it a lot. And I think he deserves my runner-up spot.
All right. Very cool. I've got one more runner-up. This one's kind of, I think because it's some people's definitive, that's why I won't say that it's necessarily for sure a hidden gem, but it's one, I don't know. It's the Walgreens thing.
Oh, okay.
I think people know that it's a fantastic figure, but I don't hear them say it's a fantastic figure enough. So I decided I should put a little bit more respect on his name. This is your definitive thing. If you don't have a thing, this is the one you want. I'd pass on the retro. I'd pass on the Super Scroll Wave one. Pass on whatever other ones are out there. I like this one.
That's the one to get.
It's got the best deco, I think. I think he could use a 4 on his trunks, but honestly, I don't care that bad because I don't really have a Fantastic Four displayed anyway. Usually he's just kind of displayed with himself, like either fighting Hulk or something. So it's a good figure. If you don't have it, you should. Figure. Do you have it?
I think I had at one point.
You son of a gun. Do you have anything right now? You probably don't have anything. Yeah.
I think I jettisoned my Fantastic Four collection at one point, but
I
don't know.
At one point, I had 3 full retro waves.
Okay.
I've got the full retro wave over there. I had 2 that I got in lots that I sold, but I think I might have a couple of them left over.
3 full retro waves.
Yeah.
I'm looking for. I think it's right behind me. I'm gonna go also with a second runner-up because it's the thing to do. Thing to do. Oh, I see what I did.
I see it.
So I love the Toy Biz Doctor Doom. Specifically this one though.
Yeah.
There's the ones that have like the scuffy, burned face. I like this one. If I remember right, was this the variant or was this the main one?
I think that was the main one.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because the variant was supposed to be the real Doom, but it got switched, I think. From the old oral history of Marvel Legends recap there. But I think this one's really cool. I think it still stands up, especially as like an army builder. I have, as you can see here, to our collectors, a whole bucket full. This is my Doom army. And the great thing about these is, even if their head pops off, you still got a robot. You can have him like he's still fighting. Or maybe I'll get some pictures so that we can post those of my various Doom armies that I've had at times.
Yeah.
But I think definitely if you want like a Doctor Doom army, that is the route to go. And
I did confirm in the Marvel Legends book that the Terminator head is the regular version, and then the melted face is the variant.
So that one's pretty cool. Highly recommended if you're, especially if you're a Doctor Doom.
And I would think that would count as a very good hidden gem. I don't think a lot of people have that, or if they do, like they're not usually posing up their Doctor Doom armies. So nobody's got a stronger Doctor Doom army than you. And if you think you do, leave a comment because I haven't seen it.
I appreciate that.
Now getting into the actual top 5 list that we've created. Let's see. I'll go first and we'll kind of go back and forth. This one is kind of an obvious one because I've mentioned it a few times. She's always in my top 10 list. I think Ironheart is a hidden gem. I think it's I don't know why I got this one in the first place because I didn't know Ironheart very well. But then as soon as I got her, I was like, this is a very surprisingly good female figure because at the time, Marvel Legends really didn't do that great of female figures. I think she gets in some cool flying poses. I've got her as kind of like a punch in the ground, and then I've got this other like repulsor effect.
Oh.
So when she's punching the ground, it's kind of like
the explosion going on. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going through my stuff recently, and I came across her, thought of you, but I was like, I think Dakota's right. This is a pretty good figure.
Yeah. And I think, and especially after liking the figure so much, I was like, I should probably figure out something about this character. And I think the Ironheart stories are also really good. So if you haven't read those, I also recommend reading those. I even got it's kind of off screen, but Ironheart #1 CG Seed.
There you go.
So Jordan,
once that show comes out, he'll be a rich man.
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess, I'll go work my way up. I will say I'm a big fan, I think you remember this, of the Rhino. But it's not the Build-A-Figure Rhino. And it's not even the Retro Rhino. This is the Fearsome Foes Toy Biz set Rhino. And I think I know what the arguments against it. It's a little on the smaller side. But for me, that is how I picture the Rhino. he's kind of got that old school, like John Romita Sr. sort of square head going on. Mm-hmm. I think he just looks proportionally comic booky to me.
Yeah.
I like him quite a bit. I think the sculpt is really cool. I've worked him into several Spidey displays, and I think it works. It's another one I have photographic evidence of, so we can provide that as well. But I think he's a really cool figure. And again, another one I don't see a lot. I don't really remember how. I think it might have been before the retro even came out. I discovered that one and really wanted them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember paying too much for them. I kind of patiently waited.
I thought you got them only for like $15.
Yeah,
I thought it was even less.
Might have been less. But he was really cool, so I like that one quite a bit.
Yeah. You haven't had the Select Rhino, have you?
I haven't. I know you were telling me he's
pretty cool.
Quite substantial.
Yeah, it's obviously not as articulated as the Retro Rhino, but I kept both of them because of different reasons. Like I liked the substantialness of the Select Rhino, but I also want the option to be able to pose Rhino, so I kept both for now. We'll see what I end up doing in the future, but yeah, that's a pretty cool Rhino. So I'd like to see those two head to head because those would both be better sculpts, I think, than the Retro. Probably better paint apps. So you bring your Rhino over, I'll bring my Rhino over. We'll see which one's better.
Just play with each other's rhinos.
All right. My number 4 in the list is this early Hasbro Silver Surfer.
Okay.
So this has been in the background of almost every episode of our podcast. I think he sits well on the figure boxes. But I like that he has the plugins for the surfboard in both feet. So I guess you can kind of say like he's kind of stuck being in this kind of wider pose, but I think that's kind of a surfing pose, which I like better than the single plug that they have for the newer ones. Just because when I pose it, like the one I have hanging up with my Galactus, I can't see him now, I'm underneath him, but it kind of seems like it separates from his foot sometimes when it's not plugged.
Okay.
Because the back foot's plugged, but the front foot's not. So
right. Yeah, I feel like Hasbro hasn't really figured out the surfer board tech.
Right.
I've noticed that several times. It's very frustrating.
I did get one of the Obsidian Surfers. Somebody had like custom made a plug in that, and that worked out really well. So yeah, I understand why they don't do it, but I do like that one has it. I think the sculpt on him is pretty cool too. It's the same exact sculpt that they used for the Toy Biz one with the magnet feet. The magnet feet don't really actually stay on very well. Like the board is too heavy and the magnets aren't strong enough that it just kind of slides around. And he's got pretty good articulation. It's obviously got pins and everything. But as far as your Silver Surfers go, he, at least at the time, wasn't nearly as expensive as the Walgreens one. I don't know kind of what the prices have been currently, but I would assume he's on the cheaper side of Silver Surfers. So, and it's still a good one. So, especially if he's on the board.
Mine. I have the one with the magnetic feet. But I think he's pretty cool.
There was a time where I had, I think, all of the Silver Surfer. Walter the Mad just took a dive off the shelf.
Oh no!
But I had
check on
this Hasbro one. I had the Toy Biz one, Walgreens, and the Fallen, and then this one. But I've whittled it down to only. Well, I didn't really whittle it down too much. I've got HasLab, old Hasbro, and Fallen. But
as much as can be reasonably whittled.
Exactly.
All right.
What is your number 4?
I will go into Hasbro with this one. And my pick is actually the Hercules from the Thanos movie wave.
Okay.
I really don't see him talked about much at all.
Yeah.
I don't even remember how I got him. If it was in a lot, something like that. I prefer him to the retro. I've had the retro one. And then, obviously, I think the Toy Biz one's pretty rough.
That's Hasbro, too. It was like Blob Wave or something. Yeah. A lot of people get that confused, Jordan. It's okay. But as a strong collector, I'd like you to clean it up a little,
should know.
Okay?
I know. I'm sorry. Getting sloppy. But that Hercules, I think I like that look more. He's got like the pants, and then he comes with like a sword, and he's got a mace. And I mean, I think it's just pretty cool detail. I think he poses really well. I like him quite a bit. That's kind of my Hercules if I need a Hercules in the collection. But like I said, I don't really see him posted about much or even for sale much, so I don't know what that's about. But I think if you can get your hands on that Hercules, he's pretty cool.
Yeah, I have the retro one, but I agree. I do kind of like that look of the more, like, it seems much more battle ready with like the pants, and he's got like the vests, and definitely comes with cooler weapons. Because I think the retro one only came with like the small mace, which is a little club thing, which is fine. But I do like because you said it came with the sword and a mace. Did it also come with the axe too? I didn't know if it came with all the weapons that Ares had or not, but
I think it might have been just those two.
Yeah, maybe I just saw somebody post with it, but yeah, regardless, I agree. I would say that's probably the best one. I could see the argument of like you want your classic, just Speedo one, but yeah, it's okay. All right, so my number 3 now. I'm going back to Toy Biz, Jordan.
Oh,
another one. I hope this gets updated. I would really like it, but it's the hologram version of Vision. So you know how I love my translucent figures. I think this being the only translucent Vision, I think it's just a cool way to display his power set of kind of that changing his density, going intangible, kind of phasing through. And I think there was like a time where he was just kind of like always this way, wasn't he? Kind of always in this like holographic ghost type of. Maybe I'm making up stories. Maybe that's still to come.
It might be. It's possible.
But I think
somebody out there probably knows. So
yeah, let me know. In the comics, does he ever like hologram Vision for like a extended period of time? Because I know there's the white one, but I don't really like the white Vision. That's kind of. I like the colorful one. I've got. Do I have the other one on pre-order? If I don't, I'm planning on getting the Void Wave one.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that they just take that same figure and then translucent it. We'll see. Because I think Hasbro does a pretty decent job with the translucent figures with like hologram Iron Man. Not so much the Invisible Woman, because that's almost too translucent where you can see all the inner parts. So I would hope it's similar to this one where it's see-through and you can kind of see like the plugs and things, but really not that much. So I think it's a good figure. That's how I've always displayed my Avengers when I have Vision in it. I use the translucent one. So have you had that one?
I don't think I have. I think sometimes I struggle with the translucent technology. I almost feel like the Toy Biz era did cooler versions of that. I don't really like the way like translucent Miles or the translucent Invisible Woman. I'm not really a fan of how those look. Maybe it's just because those are more like white bluish. Yeah. So you can see the inner parts more.
It seems like Crystar is going to be okay.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know if that's going to be a different. Maybe they like kind of clouded up the material or something so it doesn't have quite the same complete see-through effect. I don't know. I got that one on pre-order though. Paying full price for him, baby.
I like it. So I will do my number 3.
Yep.
And that is going to be another Hasbro, and that will be none other than Frogman.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if he's going to make an appearance on your list. I know we've talked about our mutual love of Frogman.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was one that kind of was a little under the radar. I know there are those who know the greatness of Frogman, but I think that one's just a really good example of like those lower tier villains being done really well.
Yeah.
And like actually sculpted well, and they put time and effort into it, which I think is neat when that happens for a character that is not super popular. But I think he's just that perfect blend of being a cool figure, but also kind of goofy and fun.
Yeah.
But I like Frogman quite a bit.
He definitely had his 15 minutes of fame when She-Hulk was coming out, and I think people were kind of speculating, like, oh, he's going to go nuts, stock up on Frogmans.
Right.
And then he didn't really move the needle at all with the values. So
I think we kind of figured that would be like a one-off appearance. So.
I can't remember if I kept my Frogman or not, but I agree. He's super fun, and like just the figure feels so unique. Like he's got the flippers, but not only flippers, he's got flippers like with springs.
Yeah.
And then the whole head is, you're never going to reuse that. It's a good figure. I really like that one. And I think that's your only Frogman you're ever going to get. And I think they completely nailed it. Like you could, like, yeah, obviously you want pinless tech, but the pins never bother me on him. Like I'm saying he's pinless, or he's not pinless, because there really wasn't any pinless figures at the time, I don't think. But I've never noticed the pins on him, which is probably because it's just a solid color all the way through, where it's not like you've got Spider-Man like blue where it should be red. So yeah, Frogman is excellent. I really like him. My number 2 is from a 2-pack, and that is the 2-pack Storm. So that's kind of the giant size X-Men look, where she's got kind of the black costume.
Yeah.
I think that one is like shockingly cheap. Like I'm pretty sure you can get that 2-pack for like $5. And maybe that's a little low, but probably not far off.
Maybe not, but
like she honestly sells more loose than she does sealed. But yeah, I think the effects that she comes with, kind of the lightning hands, were cool. The alternate heads I thought was impressive, and just like the cape being able to, it's not like a super soft or super hard, I think it was just like a good material. And I just thought the figure was good. Like she doesn't have to be in crazy dynamic poses where she's not double jointed arms, but I just kind of imagine her like shooting lightning out of her hands. And I was pleasantly surprised with her. I don't think I ended up keeping her just because that's not the kind of X-Men display I would make, but I also kind of don't even have that many of the like main X-Men.
Right.
But yeah, I was very surprised with that figure, and I don't see anybody
I've had
really.
That one too. I think I had similar thoughts. I think I was kind of more looking for it when you mentioned that. Yeah, I think, I don't know, because even when I see like some of the higher end Storms or like a Mafex or whatever, I mean, I definitely think she's better than the ones with those paper wings.
Yeah,
can't stand those. So I think that might be the way to go with a Storm.
Yeah. I will say you probably do need a flight stand with her, because I think she's got like the high heel, tiny feet. That's probably going to be very difficult to stand up. So I always posed her in a flight stand, and it always worked out better. So
yeah.
Your number 2, Jordan?
Nice. My number 2 is, I'm pretty sure this one counts as a hidden gem.
I'll be the judge of that.
All right. If I'm wrong, then you can tell me. I love the Kree Sentry Build-A-Figure.
That counts.
All right. I just think that one is such a fun, again, kind of a cool, like, I mean, it is more of like a generic figure, right? It's not like a specific thing, but I think they put a lot of cool effort into it because, again, we haven't really seen those parts. But I think it's just, and it works too as like just a kind of fun retro looking robot. I love the colors, the purple and the silver. That's one that I've been tempted to, like, if I could assemble several of, I think he would be a fun one to put into some displays as like you got several of them.
I think somebody, I might have bought one from somebody, and I was like, oh wow, that's cool. He's like, oh yeah, I got some more if you want. And I was like, oh, how many do you have? And I think he sent me like he had like 30 on his bed. And he's just like, yeah, they were cheap at Ollie's or something. So I just assembled them. I was like, holy cow.
Right. Yeah. I think, I don't know. It's just one of those ones that I think is fun to just pick up, play with, pose around for whatever reason. and I don't think I think he usually goes pretty cheap, especially for a
dumb
Build-A-Figure.
cheap, yeah.
So
he's got to be one of the cheapest Build-A-Figures. I mean, maybe some of the newer MCU stuff, but yeah, I think at one point, like especially when it was like that Captain Marvel wave was just probably one of the worst selling, maybe even worse than Eternals, maybe. If not, it's a close second to that. Like, I think you could get that Build-A-Figure complete for $15.
Yeah.
But I agree.
He's cool.
Especially for the price that you can get him at. I would say that's why he's considered a hidden gem, just because I think people overlook him because of the value, but it is a pretty substantial robot. I do wish he was a little bit more posable. I think the single jointed arms and legs, I think, bugged me a little bit last time I played around with him. But yeah, that's a really good army builder, especially at that price, for sure. All right. Getting into the number ones.
Number one.
I highly doubt you could guess, Jordan, but do you want to take a crack at my number one?
Gosh. I haven't been thinking about it.
Right.
Give me a hint.
It's a female figure. Guess along in the comments, folks.
Female figure, hidden gem. I can't think of it. Yeah,
it's an X-Men. It's from, she's not necessarily this look, but she's from one of the lines I was recently reading. It's none other than Magic.
What?
Have you had that figure?
No.
Figure's pretty dope, dude.
Okay.
The amount of accessories she comes with alone is pretty amazing. I will say she's on the higher end of all the figures I've kind of compiled in my hidden gems, so definitely more on the gem side than I think she's also hidden. I really don't see anybody like posing her in the displays or talking about her that much in the groups. I see her like for sales sometimes, and I think I've sold maybe 2 or 3 of her. But the last time that I had her, I was just like, this figure's actually pretty well made. Like comes with a giant sword. I don't know if you necessarily count the Dormammu skulls as. Was she not a Walgreens exclusive? Because those are supposed to be part of the Dormammu set, right? Maybe they're not.
I don't think they were, man. I think it was one of those like rando things where you weren't really sure what to do with them.
Okay. Kind of like the Kitty Pryde came with the Onslaught head from a different... Okay, yeah, okay. Well, then, those heads are pretty cool because she's kind of from the like limbo, so she's got the flaming skulls that you could also use to put on other characters to just make some demon henchmen type things for either Dormammu or whatever.
Yeah.
I knew you wouldn't get it because it's very...
No, I would not have guessed that one even if I'd had a little while to think about it.
I would like to see... I do want a Magic, but I kind of want her in like... Because the one that they have is more the kid version, which is also crazy because we don't have a lot of kid-sized figures. Like there's the Ultimate Spider-Man. And that's kind of it, right? Because I don't think the new like Valeria and Franklin Richards, those are kind of like their more grown-up versions. So yeah, it's a pretty unique sculpt.
Okay,
I think it's a good one. If you next time you get her in a lot, spend a little bit more time, pose it around.
Don't just line her up for that sale photo.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think that's what I did the first time. I was just like, oh, don't need that figure, sell it. The second time, I kind of spent a little bit more time. I was like, actually, this figure rocks.
All right, Magic, unexpected number one, but I guess that's the point of the hidden gem. It's unexpected. Okay, so my number one. I think you would know this one, Dakota.
Spider-Man. I don't know.
Yes.
It's just all your top 10s are always Spider-Man.
Oh, come on, dude. Well, that's true. When we get to our top 10 of the year, I'll probably have 5 Spider-Man in there. It's going to be the Build-A-Figure known as Warlock.
Yeah.
I think this is fair as a hidden gem, just because, once again, I feel like he doesn't... I guess I've seen him for sale. I actually built this one, so maybe I'm a little bit sentimental because when we started getting back in, this is one that I pieced together. But which I think was a little more difficult at the time because his pieces came with like Cyclops, which was pretty valuable.
Yeah.
For a while, so it was a little hard to track down. So it took me a while, but I just think like another one where a character that they put a lot of detail into.
Yeah.
Not really going to reuse that. I think the deco is super cool with like the way the metal is, where it kind of has that rusted look, but it's like that alien tech.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got the portable little buzzsaw and things, which I think is fun.
Yeah.
There's one thing, the kind of jankiness of plugging those tubes in his back are a little difficult. I'll give him that. That's a bit of a drawback. But I think he's just a really uniquely shaped figure, too. Like he kind of can add some variety to your displays. I don't really have, like, much in the way of X-Force, but I do love that Warlock. So,
yeah.
I think he's definitely worth picking up, or at least checking out if you can.
Yeah, he's super
I'm not sure what he's at these days.
I don't know.
He is very posable. We can put a picture of that one when we had that light box where he's just in that crazy pose. But I think he's a really fun figure and can work. I think that's what's cool about figures when they're part of a team, but they're good enough that you can display them on their own.
Yeah.
Just because a lot of the time I don't necessarily do a ton of team assembling, but if there's one figure that I think stands out, I'll get it.
Right.
And that is definitely the case with Warlock.
Yeah.
So that's why he's my number one.
And the ladies love him.
And the ladies love him.
Both of our wives would probably put him.
Big fan of, yes.
I would say he's in their top 3 of all of our action figures. So, ladies love Warlock and Jordan loves Warlock. So, might want to pick up a Warlock. Jordan's married. I'm married. We both have Warlock in our collection. You nerds out there that are single, take a look at the collection. Is Warlock in there? Something might be adding up. All right.
Yeah.
So I think that was a decent list of hidden gems. I think I'm gonna throw out another one as we were talking about translucent figures and how much I love them. I think that the Toy Biz Wonder Man, the translucent variant, is another cool one that I need updated from Hasbro.
All right.
Because
that's fair.
I like displaying him more in that powered up version.
Like the purple look, yeah.
So I think, so as we did this podcast, I'm realizing 2 more podcasts that we need to do. So stay tuned for our most nostalgic figures, because you were kind of talking about like the nostalgia plays into your Warlock. I would assume that's a figure that, regardless of the value, you're probably never going to sell because of that, like building it and how much you enjoyed it. And I think we each have a lot of those where there's not necessarily a lot of monetary value to them, but like maybe it was a gift or a first figure getting back in or first figure ever. So I think that would be a cool episode. And the second one was another round, because I think we had done this before, of Toy Biz figures that haven't been updated that need to be updated.
Yeah.
Because like I was saying, I want this translucent and the other Wonder Man. I want those updated. Where are they at, Hasbro?
There's definitely more. So I can think of that.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right. Let us know what your hidden gems are, because we only did 5, and there are more figures out there that go under the radar. Let us know what you would put in your hidden gems list. Make sure you're liking, sharing, and subscribing. And until next time, stay strong.
You know what we could do for an episode is top 5 figures that either have exploded or that Dakota exploded.
Oh, yeah. That would, because...
Didn't you explode several of my figures?
Yeah, 2. At least 2. So I broke your Apocalypse and I broke your Iceman. And you've had... Or like, what other ones have exploded, like, out of the box? Like that Stealth Iron Man and that Dr. Doom.
I remember as a kid, my brother tried to have the Wave 1 Hulk pick up a pillow and throw him. And then both his arms just came off. Which, even as a kid, I was like, that's kind of funny. And what was the other one? Oh, that Reed Richards, remember? With the, like, stretchy... from one of those early waves.
Oh.
Didn't yours? Or was that mine?
I think it was yours.
Mine, his head just blew. Like, I don't even remember. It was like kind of inexplicably just
Yeah.
What just happened?
I also broke my Iron Fist too.
Right.
Yeah.
Top 5 deadliest figures.
Most breakable action figures.
Most breakable action figures on the market.